evil, foolish talk about his benefactor, Elijah Muhammad, in trying to rob him of the divine glory which Allah has bestowed upon him. Such a man as Malcolm is worthy of death.
This was only 2 months before he was shot down. That is why people believe that you were responsible for the death of Malcolm X.
No, not at all. My name was not among those at that time who were considered the place.
Nonetheless, following those editorials, Malcolm and his family received numerous death threats from whom no one knows for sure.
Are you not, perhaps, afraid of what might happen to you as a result of making these revelations?
Oh, yeah. I probably am a dead man already.
But Farrakhan says that Elijah Muhammad had issued a warning to his followers.
Leave Minister Malcolm alone. Those were orders. Those were instructions to us. Leave this man alone.
But in February of 1965, while the family was asleep, Malcolm's home in New York was firebombed. And just 1 week later, 39-year-old Malcolm X was gunned down by members of the Nation of Islam. But there are those who still believe the government had a hand in Malcolm's death. Fact is, for years, the FBI and the New York City police had Malcolm X under surveillance.
Malcolm was not killed just because he made those revelations public. Wasn't there a deeper meaning that the government of the United States under J. Edgar Hoover wanted no black messiah to rise that could unify the nationalists? And is it not true that the government of the United States spied on all black leaders? And is it not true that the government had people on the side of Malcolm and people on the side of Elijah Muhammad that kept this thing going? This is bigger than the Nation of Islam.
Even so, Atillah Shabazz says her father knew the names of the Nation of Islam members who'd been assigned to kill him.
Did your father not have a list of the people?
Oh, my father knew everybody, personally.
The people who were out to kill him?
The list was longer than those who actually pulled the trigger.
People from the Newark Mosque are the men who did it, yes?
Now, you asked me, yes. Most of them, from what I understand, were from the Newark Mosque.
And the night it happened, you were at the Newark Mosque.
That is correct.
Coincidence?
Well, look, the minister...
You're from Boston.
Of course I'm from Boston.
Farrakhan explained that he'd simply come to Newark, New Jersey that night to preach in the place of that mosque's minister, who, says Farrakhan, was preaching in New York. Although for decades he's tried to distance himself from the actual murder, just 7 years ago he was still charging that Malcolm had deserved punishment.
And if we dealt with him like a nation deals with a traitor, what the hell business is it of yours?
But now Louis Farrakhan, recuperating from prostate cancer and facing his own mortality, has a different appreciation of Malcolm X, and he wanted Atillah Shabazz to know it. He did most of the talking during our 4-hour meeting. Finally, Shabazz could no longer hold back 35 years of anguish.
Indeed, the FBI probably had something to do with it. But we have to say that adult men between the ages of 20 and 40, black faces, who chose to put a trigger in their hands and unload until it was empty, have to be culpable. You can't keep pointing the finger because my father was not killed from a grassy knoll. And I have sisters who are spun out into this environment as tumbleweeds, unhealed. We knew to stay silent because as a child I thought it could happen to me. That if I spoke up or said something, they'd take my mother, they'd take one of us. I got to hear a report of the traitor deserved it, so it never could go away. Those reports didn't come from the government. Those reports did not come from the police. They came from the tan and brown and black faces that once claimed themselves as family members.
May I, Ms. Shabazz, they say hindsight is 20/20 vision. I wish that Malcolm X were alive today and not dead. Yes, it is true that black men pull the trigger. We cannot deny any responsibility in this. Where we are responsible, where our hands are a part of this, we beg God's mercy and forgiveness.
What did you expect to come out of this conversation? What did you hope would come?
I genuinely hope that perhaps a healing can come to Miss Shabazz and her family. As I may have been complicit in words that I spoke leading up to February 21st, I acknowledge that and regret that any word that I have said caused the loss of life of a human being.
Just this past week, Atillah Shabazz gave me her reaction to the meeting. Quote, "He has never admitted this before, publicly, until now. He has never caressed my father's children. I thank him for acknowledging his culpability, and I wish him peace." Unquote. Malcolm X would have been 75 years old this month.